China and the Philippines clashed yesterday near Scarborough Shoal in the South China Sea. The Philippines deployed 10 ships for activities near the shoal, which China designated as a nature reserve a week ago. China viewed this move as provocative. Subsequently, China sent Coast Guard vessels to intercept the Philippine ships, resulting in one ship sustaining severe damage and a Fisheries Bureau vessel's windows being shattered by water cannons, injuring one crew member due to glass fragments. China denied the Philippines' accusations, calling its actions legitimate control measures and accusing the Philippines of spreading false information and propaganda. To be honest, I rarely comment on the South China Sea issue because it affects China's relations with ASEAN, and the Philippines' military strength is simply too weak. Bullying a weaker country harms one's reputation. I don't understand why the Chinese government allows a derelict ship to remain stranded nearby and engages in prolonged conflicts with the Philippines over this island. If the United States were in this position, it would have sunk the ship long ago, ending the dispute. Frankly, China's approach to territorial issues has always been conservative, which has led to multiple disputes. If China acted like Russia or the United States and resolved issues with force, there would be fewer troubles. However, Chinese culture emphasizes diplomacy before conflict. China could wage war against the United States in Korea, clash with the Soviet Union on the northeastern border, or teach lessons to India and Vietnam, once considered the world's third strongest military powers. But fighting a country like the Philippines, which lacks credible military strength, would indeed tarnish China's honor. Personally, I don't dislike the Philippines, nor do I think Scarborough Shoal is directly tied to my real interests. At the end of World War II, the Potsdam Declaration limited Japan's territory to its 4 main islands, but Japan later gained control of the Ryukyu Islands, now Okinawa, from the United States. China didn't pursue it, yet it repeatedly clashed with Japan over the tiny Diaoyu Islands. If China acted like Russia and sent troops to occupy Okinawa, there would be far less debate. Considering its relations with ASEAN, China has adopted a tolerant stance toward Vietnam and the Philippines. Instead of sending troops to occupy disputed islands, China has confined conflicts to a limited scope, which is quite restrained. However, this goodwill has not earned gratitude from the Philippine government. On the contrary, they perceive China as weak, unwilling to take strong action, and thus repeatedly provoke China. Let me clarify. I am not a territorial fanatic or an online nationalist demanding the restoration of the Qing dynasty's borders. From the perspective of international politics, the Philippines' resistance against China is pointless. If war broke out, China wouldn't even need to deploy its military. The Coast Guard combined with Hainan Province's police forces could occupy the entire Philippines. Ukraine has some capacity to resist Russia, but what does the Philippines have to challenge China? Regarding the Ukraine issue, many in my comment section question why I don't support Ukraine's resistance against Russia, accusing me of favoring Russia. I say their minds are broken. I've repeatedly stated in videos that Russia's aggression has caused severe disasters for neighboring countries. However, Ukraine lacks the means to confront Russia. Zelensky is a clown, manipulated by Biden as a pawn, leading to Ukraine losing vast territories, its economy collapsing, and an entire generation bleeding. To those criticizing me, note this: these aren't my words, but those of Trump and Charlie Kirk. Your American master Charlie Kirk publicly claimed Crimea is Russia's inherent territory and that Ukraine and Zelensky are clowns, backed by numerous videos. Although Charlie Kirk has passed away, Trump continues these remarks. Another netizen asked my thoughts on Ukraine's resistance to Russia. My response is that my opinion doesn't matter. What matters is what Ukrainians think. Resisting aggression and defending territory is honorable. If Ukrainians are willing to sacrifice an entire generation for this honor and still fail to reclaim their land, that's their choice, and I respect it. But I deeply despise Ukrainians in Europe, the United States, or China who glorify Zelensky. If they love Ukraine, they should return to their country and fight. A few days ago, I criticized a Ukrainian influencer on Chinese social media who praises Zelensky, urging her to return to Ukraine. You dress up beautifully, living lavishly in China, yet call for Ukrainians back home to serve as cannon fodder for Zelensky. I've never considered Russia just, but those seeking to uphold national dignity and honor must not evade war. Israel has many female soldiers, and so does Ukraine. Hiding in China's nightclubs and lounges, profiting wildly while hoping your countrymen fight on, is utterly shameless. So, Filipinos should think carefully. Not all Chinese want that island, but it has been legally designated as Chinese territory. If the Chinese government loses it, it cannot answer to its people. Continued provocation risks direct war with China. Do you have Ukraine's military strength or its people's resolve? Is that dilapidated island truly so important to you? Don't complain online that the island is close to the Philippines. Look at the map. You're also close to China. The international community values legal basis, which China has. If it comes to force, China's is greater. Chinese people have already been quite restrained. Should the Philippines focus on that island? Isn't Japan stronger than you? China routinely patrols the Diaoyu Islands with warships. Has Japan gone to war with China? As a Chinese person, I don't claim that every territory or island China asserts must belong to China. I'm a rational and objective person. If two countries cannot resolve a territorial dispute, war is the only solution. Are you certain you want to fight China? Take Myanmar as an example. China asked the military junta to clear out scam parks, but they refused. China then supplied weapons to Yunnan's border, and the Myanmar junta was defeated by local forces, ultimately forced to negotiate with China. If China wanted Myanmar's territory, would it need such trouble? With China's current military strength, if it had expansionist ambitions, wouldn't it have acted already? When Russia needed China, China could have offered enough benefits and sent a small force to occupy Outer Mongolia. Has China done so? Why? China is a highly restrained major power that respects the existing international order and cherishes peace. That's why China repeatedly tolerates the Philippines, treating you as equal humans. If you choose to act like monkeys, eating the peanuts humans offer and then trying to snatch their wallets, do you really think Chinese people wouldn't dare strike you? Sometimes I wonder if China should change its strategy. Like tourists in the mountains facing a monkey troop. If you don't wield a stick, they think you're weak and dare to steal your things. If you don't hurt one monkey, the troop will remain brazen. If everyone carries a stick and strikes a few monkeys, order is restored instantly. They understand their place and quietly wait for handouts. I recall when Duterte was president. He was pragmatic. China didn't occupy Scarborough Shoal, but maintained a cooperative development framework. Generally, China is willing to preserve peace and share benefits. After Marcos took office, provoked by the United States, he continuously challenged China, resulting in China effectively controlling Scarborough Shoal and restricting Philippine ships. In fact, this pattern holds everywhere on Earth. Wherever the United States appears, peace and order are disrupted, replaced by conflict and war. Yet, once these pawns are used up, the United States changes presidents and abandons them. Look at Ukraine's plight. Filipinos had better think carefully about whether to continue serving as America's cannon fodder.